welcome back to the Vault. Today's video is an interview with Officer Jonathan Reeves and Sergeant Justin Wall of the Professional Standards Division. This interview takes place April 28th of 2021. Officer Reeves was the first officer on scene with Sergeant Vidler, and he was part of the arrest. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I have the lieutenant from the Professional Standards Division that oversaw the first investigation into Vidler and Ramsey that found no policy violations. If you would like to see that video come next, just put LT in the comments below and I'll go ahead and release that tomorrow. Alright, like I said, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.
I'm Sergeant Justin Wall, the Orange County Sheriff's Office Professional Standards Section. Today's date is April 28th, 2021, and the current time is 9:57 a.m. This interview is being conducted at the Office of Professional Standards located at 2500 West Colonial Drive. I'm interviewing. Can you just state your rank and name for me?
Master Deputy Jonathan Reeves.
Also present in the room is Sergeant Michael Harmon of the Professional Standards Section. Deputy Reeves, are you aware that I'm recording this interview?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened, coerced, or offered you any preferential treatment to give this statement?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol that may impair your testimony?
No.
All right, raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you have to provide will be true and correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, as we kind of just discussed, I'm conducting an investigation into a incident that occurred on March 23rd, 2021, in which you were a backup deputy for a traffic stop involving Sergeant Vidler. Your body-worn camera reflects that you were there for this traffic stop on I-4.
Yep.
Do you have a recollection of that incident?
It's a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
The traffic stop I'm aware of.
Can you just kind of explain the circumstances of how you became involved in that stop? What was it that you guys were doing as like a detail, or were you guys
Just working regular I-4 in the areas of Michigan I-4.
like a traffic, just your regular
aggressive
traffic
driving,
duties?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you specifically looking for Mr. DeWitt?
No.
So was it like I think there was some mention in body-worn camera of like an aggressive driving detail. Is that something specific you guys were doing, or is that
It's just a normal when we go work. We're as part of the aggressive driving unit, we just go work, so we say let's go work aggressive driving. Just go up on the interstates, surface streets, wherever.
Okay.
Wherever it leads to.
Right before the stop, just kind of explain to me what you guys were engaged in.
On I-4, the area of Michigan.
Okay. Running radar or just looking for
Aggressive, yeah, just aggressive driving.
Okay. Were you with Sergeant Vidler?
No.
You just happened to be in the area?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get notified to
There was a phone call. We will call back, talk back and forth on the phone, and
a phone call from Sergeant Vidler?
I don't know if he called me or I called him, but we were up there discussing.
Okay. And what did he say?
He said, I have Metro State on I-4.
Okay. So what did you do?
I was on I-4 and could see them further up with the bright yellow polo shirts.
Okay. And
in the far distance, I was a good ways back in traffic.
And did Sergeant Vidler request you to come over as backup?
He didn't really request me, but I knew he was gonna. I knew that because we've been told to not approach them, essentially have a backup. So I started making my way up that way.
Okay. So you knew that Sergeant Vidler was going to want backup for the traffic stop?
Yes. If he was going to do a traffic stop, yes.
All right. So just kind of describe to me what you saw when you arrived.
When I got up to where he was at, he had already, I saw him activate his lights, and traffic started slowing down. He moved over. they all moved over, and I came up and I'd activated my camera and saw that when I got up there, he was out of the car and had him at gunpoint.
Do you know why he had him at gunpoint at that point? What are you thinking?
I'm guessing he had charges on him. When he showed me later on, he showed me the gun that Jeremy had on him. It looked like a firearm in the holster.
Okay. So what actions did you take? You saw Sergeant Vidler with his firearm drawn.
Right.
What did you do?
I got out of my car. I heard him giving commands. I started calling out of the traffic stop, telling him that we had 2 bikes stopped on I-4. And I walked up there and he said, secure him.
Okay.
So I secured him in handcuffs, yep.
And when you say him, it's...
Ended up being DeWitt.
Mr. DeWitt?
Yep.
Did you know it was Mr. DeWitt?
No.
You are familiar with Metro State?
Yes.
And are you familiar with their employees?
As far as what? By face?
Yeah. I mean, you recognize most of them or all of them, or could you tell it was Jeremy?
No, could not. He had when I got out of the car, he had the helmet on, which they both had helmets on. They both were wearing identical uniforms, and he had a face covering on.
Okay. Have you met Jeremy DeWitt before?
I have.
Okay. And there was another motorcycle that was stopped as well.
Yes.
Did you know him?
No.
Do you know him now? Do you know who he was?
No.
All right. So you roll up, you see Sergeant Vidler with his gun out on Mr. DeWitt. He tells you to secure him. Did you see a weapon on Mr. DeWitt?
I saw there was because he was at this time when I walked up, he was prone in the prone position, face down. I could see the magazine of I could see a duty belt, a holster on the right side with a magazine. Oh, how do I put it? A firearm in his holster with the flat part of a magazine is what I could see.
Okay.
So a firearm in the holster and something in the magazine well, if that makes better sense.
Okay. And what did you presume it to be?
A firearm.
Okay. Have you stopped Mr. DeWitt before?
I have.
How many times?
Since I've been on motors, probably DeWitt himself, maybe 3-4 times
Okay.
in the last 10 years.
And on how many of those times is he carrying something in his holster?
I have no idea because I have no idea.
Is that something you
can't
would
recall
recognize?
I would recognize, yes, him wearing a duty belt because I've seen him have a duty belt on with a firearm, have a duty belt on with no holster. There's been several different configurations with his duty belt.
Okay.
I have seen him with a weapon in the holster.
You have seen him?
Yes.
How many times would you guess?
Including this one, probably 3.
And
two or 3.
are these all on traffic stops?
No.
Okay.
I saw him out here on 50 one day. Not 50, John Young one day.
Okay. And he had a weapon in the holster?
He had a weapon in the holster, yes.
Okay. When you see that, what do you presume?
When I see that, I presume it's a weapon.
And just to be clear, do you think it's a pepper ball gun, or do you think it's a firearm?
On the previous, are you talking about this instance or the previous instance?
The previous instances.
Previous instances, you could see on the back of the magazine. If you look at Sergeant Harmon's magazine there,
Okay.
if he's sitting there, put your right there in the center of the magazine, where his finger's at, you'll see I want to call it a notch, maybe a knob would be a better way to put it, where there's something extending, where that part is flat, there's something extending out.
Okay.
I have seen him wearing that.
Okay. And so what do you presume when you see that?
I presume based on that, I presume that's not likely. I presume it's a weapon, not necessarily a firearm.
Okay.
Based on that configuration, that appearance.
So whenever you have stopped him, what actions do you take? I mean, have you ever put him down at gunpoint?
I didn't.
No. In the previous times?
I have not stopped him. I've seen him. I have not stopped him with. To my recollection, I have not stopped him with a firearm or a weapon up until being involved with this situation.
Okay. But you've seen him.
Correct.
With a weapon.
Correct.
Have you ever put him down at gunpoint?
I have not. No.
Previously.
No.
Why not?
Because there was one that time I just explained, and then there's a time when I was on aggressive driving the first time, and we followed. There's three. I don't know if he was one of them, but there was three guys that I followed down I-4. Down I-4, ended up going southbound on John Young, and did a traffic stop once I had several other people with me to do a traffic stop on them at John Young and I believe Oak Ridge. But in that situation, I had previously seen them riding with firearms on their holsters. I don't know if it was DeWitt, but I had seen them with firearms.
Okay. But specifically with DeWitt, you've seen him with a weapon in the holster. You presume it's how do you know it's not a firearm? You just presume because of that knob?
In that situation, I presume because of the knob it was not.
Okay.
But that's also not a risk that I'm willing to take, to presume that every time it's not a firearm.
But you've never approached him about it, or
no?
Have you ever had any discussions with Mr. DeWitt about what are you carrying?
No. I have not.
I mean, is that what is your knowledge of Mr. DeWitt carrying pepper ball guns? Has there been discussion about that before?
Not with me, no. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Other than what I've seen on the multiple YouTube videos of him screaming about it and him screaming about it on the traffic stop.
Right. Okay. So I guess my question, what I was leading up to is, what was there anything different about this stop from the others that caused concern for you or Sergeant Vidler that you know of regarding this firearm versus pepper ball gun? What, if you've encountered him before or you've seen him before, what was different about this stop that caused Sergeant Vidler to put him down again?
There's no way I can't answer that. That's something you'd have to ask Sergeant Vidler.
Well, I'm asking you for your perception if there was anything different for you.
When I approached him to secure him, it appeared like a firearm in his holster. So that's what would have been different.
Did you see that little knob or knobs
No.
that you described previously?
No, it was flat. It looked like a if you can sit up where the Glock's is almost a perfect square. I think the SIGs have a little bit of a the shape is different, where it has a part where you can actually maybe put your thumb there to pull it out if you had to. It had that different of a shape.
Okay.
So it appeared to me. That's what appeared to me to be a firearm.
Okay.
When I saw it.
Have you and Sergeant Vidler had any discussions about Mr. DeWitt carrying pepper ball guns? Do you remember anything like that?
Not in depth. It's no.
Okay. I guess I'm still just trying to figure out what was different this time. And I know you can't answer for Sergeant Vidler. I'm aware of that. But if he's been stopped before with pepper ball guns, maybe not by you, but by other people, I guess I would presume that in motors, and this may be completely off base, but I would presume you guys have talked about it. So that's where I'm just trying to figure out if he's been carrying this pepper ball gun for years, as he alleges. What was different this time? To your knowledge.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
This I wasn't close enough to see him until I got there to secure him.
Okay.
To be able to see the firearm, to be able to see that configuration, to be able to see the back of the magazine, how it was flat.
Okay.
Like I said, the other times it's almost apparent that there's a knob or whatever you want to call it, something protruding out the back of the magazine.
Mm-hmm. But that could be a firearm as well, right?
Yeah. Like I said, to me that's an irrational assumption to make that it's not a firearm, when everything we are taught is to
Correct.
assume it's a firearm until you don't.
All right. So during the stop, Mr. DeWitt, you and him have some discussion, and he makes reference to an email from Stephen Casey Miller. Are you familiar with what Mr. DeWitt's talking about there?
No.
Have you ever heard of an email from the state attorney's office or anything?
I've heard of one. Digging around, I saw that there was one on their website, on DeWitt's website, that he posted.
Okay.
But that wasn't until after the fact.
Do you remember who that was from?
No.
Okay. He also makes reference to emails from attorneys at the sheriff's office, specifically Austin Moore, at the attorneys here that say that Metro State carrying pepperball guns is not illegal. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Prior to this stop?
No.
Is that the one you're referring to that's online, or is it?
There's one. I don't know if it's from Austin Moore.
Okay.
But there's one something on his website, because there's a whole bunch of documents and emails that he posts.
Okay. Did you hear Mr. DeWitt making reference to that on the stop?
Yeah.
And what was your thought when he was saying that?
Same thing. My thought when he says I want to talk to a lieutenant or a captain, or I want to talk to this person or that person. He's trying to I don't want to say put fear, but essentially say that what we're doing is wrong and he's in the right. So same thing. If I stop someone, I want to talk to my attorney. It's a normal, not a normal. It's a routine thing that he will do when I've dealt with him before, and like I said, the videos that I've seen, he comes out and he just starts trying to name drop. I want to talk to this person. I want to talk to that person. I want to talk to Captain Chapman. I want to talk to Krantz. I want to talk to whoever. So I paid it no mind.
Okay.
In that time, I paid it no mind because it wasn't my traffic stop. So I'm there as a backup and essentially just listen and get yelled at by him.
Okay. Do you know if Sergeant Vidler heard Mr. DeWitt's pleas for, hey, this email, I have this email that says I can carry this. Do you know if Sergeant Vidler heard that?
I can't.
Was there any discussion between you and Sergeant Vidler on scene?
No.
About that?
Not about that, no.
Okay.
Like I said, I can't tell you what Sergeant Vidler heard or said. I have
asking.
stuff I can't tell you I heard because of the traffic going by on I-4.
Right.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
just asking if you guys had any discussion, like if you went back and said, hey, Sergeant Vidler, he's saying he's got this email.
No.
Okay.
No. Most of the time when I've heard him talk, it's not accurate. When I've heard DeWitt talk, it's inaccurate information that he professes.
Okay. And how many times would you say you've interacted with Mr. DeWitt? I mean, over the years.
In total?
Yeah.
Between traffic stops, between court appearances, including this one, maybe between 5 to 10 times.
And so
in 10 years.
Whenever you're discussing stuff with him, is it common for him to spitball all kinds of different, like you were saying, things that
yes.
You find out later to not be true, or things that you
Yes.
know aren't true?
Yes, it's common. Yes, because he'll also throw out traffic. He'll throw out statutes. This 970 says this, or 316 says this, or 320 says this, or whatever. Same thing with his employees that I've stopped. The exact same rhetoric comes from them. 320 says this, 316 says this. All of these things I can do, I'm allowed to do based on these things.
So when he starts talking about this email, you automatically, it's just another thing that he claims.
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't really buy it
No.
because of the previous times of him crying wolf kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay. He did ask for a lieutenant 17 times actually on the stop. Did you hear those requests?
Yes.
Did you ever request a lieutenant?
No.
Did you ever later talk with your lieutenant or tell your lieutenant, hey, he wanted to talk to you?
Not because our captain's out. The lieutenant, we have 2 lieutenants, one of who was the acting captain. He was there, and
Who was
said Lieutenant Crab,
Okay.
acting Captain Crab,
Okay.
in the office.
Did you say anything to Lieutenant Crab? Hey, LT,
I don't know if it was mentioned.
Lieutenant.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Okay. You said you have 2 lieutenants. Was Lieutenant Wacker there that day?
At the stop or working? I don't know if he was
working or back at the substation.
I don't know. I didn't see him. There was no lieutenants or captains or anything on the traffic stop.
Right.
At the office, I did not see him at the office. Lieutenant Wacker.
Okay. You saw Lieutenant Crab there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. DeWitt ever spoke with a lieutenant or captain or at his request?
I think Crab might have gone in there. I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't recall that.
Okay. All right. After the stop, did you go back to the station where Mr. DeWitt was interviewed?
Yes.
Where was that?
Sector 4.
Okay. What was your involvement in the follow-up investigation that took place? Just kind of walk me through what happened when you guys got back to the station.
I saw them walk him into the side door of Sector 4 into the motor office and from the parking lot, and then I saw him later on sitting in the, I don't know what you call it, a lunchroom or whatever it is, the corner, the office. There's a open office that has a table and chairs and stuff like that, filing cabinets. I saw him sitting in there.
Okay.
Which is where I believe they then did the interview with him.
Okay. Did you have any other involvement in the follow-up
No.
investigation? Was there discussion either with you or overheard or anything else about the criminal charges? I know you said it wasn't your stop, but I mean, was there discussion about what we're charging them with?
Just yes, there was the discussion of carrying a concealed weapon.
Okay. And just kind of describe to me like how that discussion went or who was involved and.
Vidler we were in another office. And Vidler was saying, I think Crab had come in and asked him what he was charging him with.
Okay. And Sergeant Vidler said carrying concealed weapon?
Yeah.
Was there any follow-up, like, or was it just kind of, okay?
Yeah.
Was there any, like, follow-up questions? Like,
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't ask any more questions. To me, it wasn't my style, it wasn't my charges, so I didn't inquire.
okay. Are you familiar with that statute?
The carry concealed weapon statute?
Yeah.
I mean, I made that arrest a couple times, I believe.
Okay. So, I mean, in your mind, did you think, yeah, that applies or doesn't apply? I mean, did you have any thoughts about that? Or?
No, I didn't have any thoughts on that.
Okay.
Like I said, that was his charges, and I went with that.
Okay.
They were his charges, so I could only assume that he had already worked that out himself.
Okay. Did you feel like the charges applied, or?
The carry concealed weapon. I mean, if he's concealing the fact that it's a weapon.
Okay. But I mean, the could you see you could see the gun in the holster, right?
I could see the gun in the holster.
On the traffic stop.
Yes.
Mr. DeWitt's traffic stop. So the object itself was not concealed.
Based on that, I can see it. But when we have dealt with concealed weapons before, if you can't tell if it's a weapon or not, then it is concealed. I believe how legal had presented it to us on prior traffic stop situations.
Okay. And just kind of describe to me a little bit more of that conversation. Where did you hear that, or?
On prior stops, when we the question of is it concealed or not, and they said if you can't tell what it is, then it's concealed. But once you put it there, and it's only open, laying there, apparent. If I pull my gun out and I put it here, it's a gun, then it's no longer concealed.
Okay.
Is the way it was explained to us previously.
So the object itself is visible to the naked eye, right? I mean, you can see
Yes.
my gun here, right?
Yes.
So you're saying that because of what it is, it's concealed?
If it's a firearm or a weapon, yes.
And do you remember who in legal or who?
That was years ago when we were dealing with several different firearm situations.
Okay.
The guy with the beard, I think, is who it was.
Steve Foster?
I think so. Is that the
Like
short,
the white beard?
short guy with
The older
glasses?
guy?
Yeah. Because
And were you part of that conversation?
No.
Or did you just hear about that conversation?
over here, or in discussions later,
Okay. And do you know when that was?
years ago. I don't know.
Okay. So I guess, and again, I know you can't answer for Sergeant Vidler. I'm just asking in your mind, if that was years ago, and Mr. DeWitt has been encountered before with this in his gun belt, with a pepperball gun. Do you know of anything that made this time different?
Once again, the only thing that I know it to be different is looking at it from him being proned out when I approached him, and it being flat on the magazine, and then looking at the gun belt as a whole once it was taken off, and sitting not on him but sitting on wherever it was sitting at, it appeared to be a firearm in a holster.
Okay. All right. I just want to go on to another traffic stop real quick from March 5th of this year.
Yeah.
About 1300. You did a traffic stop at Clark Road in Hackney Prairie on a Metro State car.
Yes.
Do you remember that car?
Yes.
Remember that stop? It looks like Jeremy pulls up beside you. Behind you, and you tell him, "Move on, Jeremy."
As I would do any other car that stops, as I'm on a traffic stop.
Right. Do you recall a phone call during that traffic stop?
During the traffic stop, yeah.
Okay. Was that Sergeant Vidler that was on the phone?
Yeah, probably.
What was that discussion about?
The statutes for the funeral processions, funeral escorts. Mm-hmm. They have to stay in the single lane. They have to all be in the single lane. They can't be outside the lane and impeding traffic.
Okay. Was there any discussion about the gun belt and the pepperball gun during that conversation?
Not that I know of. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Or not that I recall.
Because at some point you said, "I'll see." If I see him again, I'll address it. That's kind of how you ended the conversation.
If he comes back, I'll address it.
And just what were you referring to?
Him coming back after being told to leave.
Oh, okay.
He was there.
Okay.
I said, because I waited to stop that guy. We say it was on Clark Road. a distance from where I saw whoever's on the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
So gained some distance. Then I did a traffic stop.
Yep.
I look back and he's there. So I wave him on, go, get out of here. I don't want whatever I said. Keep going. This doesn't concern you. Whatever I said to him. So when I said that, it was if he comes back again, I'll have to address it with him now coming back and reinserting himself in a traffic stop.
Okay.
Which he's done multiple times. When we've stopped one person, he comes and inserts himself into the traffic stop.
Okay.
So being the fact that I'm now there, 1-on-1, 2 versus 2-on-2, 1-on-1, keep going. Whatever. He's running his mouth. Like I said, I'm on the side of the road. Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. Run your mouth. Keep going. If you come back, I'll obviously have to deal with that later.
Okay. Did you see any type of pepperball gun or firearm in the holster at that point?
Didn't even look.
Okay.
Wouldn't even know to look. I was more concerned with him, seeing him go by me, seeing him go that direction, and not getting shot by this guy in the car.
Right. Okay, so there was no discussion about from Sergeant Vidler, hey, did he have a gun on him? And the response is, oh, if I see him again, I'll address it. That wasn't in reference to
Not that I recall,
the
no.
firearm.
No.
No.
Me seeing him again is him coming back on the traffic stop.
Okay. Okay.
So once again, my focus is on the guy in the car.
Yeah.
And getting the tickets written and getting out of there. So that's my focus.
Right. Okay. So there was no discussion about the pepperball gun or the gun.
Not that I recall.
All right. How involved are you in this the ongoing investigation with Mr. DeWitt?
What do you mean?
Are you familiar with an ongoing investigation that has been going on for years with Mr. DeWitt?
Other than this traffic stop, I'm not aware that I'm involved with it, or being here with you, I'm not aware that I'm involved with it.
Okay.
From that standpoint.
Are you familiar with the fact that Sergeant Vidler has engaged in an investigation, like a long-term investigation?
I know that him and Ramsey had an investigation, yes.
Okay. Are you involved in that?
No.
At all?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with Sergeant Vidler making contact at various places of business with clients that do business with Mr. DeWitt?
No.
So Mr. DeWitt does different businesses, or has clients that he does business with.
No.
Have you ever heard of Sergeant Vidler going to these businesses?
No.
And explaining that Mr. DeWitt is X, Y, and Z, horrible person,
No.
blah, 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 don't do business? You never heard of that?
No.
There's never been any discussion about that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But I've never had that discussion.
No rumor or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Are you aware of Sergeant Vidler contacting insurance companies while on traffic stops or otherwise regarding Mr. DeWitt's insurance?
To confirm if they have insurance, yes.
Okay. Is that a common practice in the motor unit? Or as in your time in law enforcement?
I have not. I have never done it. No.
Okay. Have you stopped people without insurance before?
Yes.
Okay. And so what do you normally do?
Write them the insurance ticket.
Okay.
Write them the go to whatever exhibit. Go ahead.
Have you ever heard of other people other than Sergeant Vidler calling insurance companies to address insurance concerns, either on a traffic stop or later on? Are you familiar with any of that?
No. Other than the only time I've heard of it is if it's with a commercial vehicle, and Vidler called to confirm if their insurance is for a commercial vehicle or for your personal vehicle. Because
Okay.
apparently there's a statute, which I wasn't aware of, but there's a statute that says you have to have commercial insurance for commercial vehicles. You can't use a personal insurance.
Which makes sense. But is that would you say that it's common practice in the motor unit to do that, or is that the only time you've ever heard of that being done?
That's as far as I've only seen it with Sergeant Vidler doing it.
Okay.
Usually it's just a drop the ticket and go. You're not going the extra mile or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Usually just write the ticket and go.
All right. And then at the beginning of this, you had made mention something about you've been told not to approach, or at least approach with two people. To your knowledge, has there been any instruction to Sergeant Vidler, Corporal Ramsey, anyone else in the motor unit, yourself included, to like regarding Mr. DeWitt? What is the instruction? You said that not to approach him. What do you mean by that?
Have a backup, because they'll usually, if there's more than one, if there's two or more, then you're gonna, if Jeremy's there, more than likely you're gonna get into that verbal tirade with him.
So where did that instruction come from? Is it?
I don't even remember. That was a while ago.
Okay.
When I say a while, a couple of years ago.
Has there ever been any other instructions like stopping Jeremy DeWitt or stop?
We've been told before to, yes, stop.
And where did that come from?
Whoever the captain was at the time.
Were you
years ago?
Were you told that specifically, like in a briefing, or are you just hearing it through hearsay? Do you remember?
I don't remember where it came from.
But you believe it was a captain?
It came from our chain.
Do you know which captain?
I don't even remember. Like I said, it was years ago.
And what was the instruction or the?
Well, we had gone from go enforce whatever on them. If you see them doing something, take whatever actions, to if you see them doing something, follow them till they get to whatever, so you don't interrupt the funeral, and then address it from there. But then there was instances where they would see that we were following them, to staying with them, surveillance, whatever you want to call it, to the venue, wherever they were going to, whether it be a funeral home or a graveside, whatever, cemetery. Mm-hmm. But then they would, when you try to stop them, they turn around and beat feet, or they would see us and they would just beat feet before we could get there and leave. To then don't even disregard them, put blinders on. So we've had all three different.
And that was all years ago. Has there been anything recent? Any instructions recently?
There's been some reason, just leave them alone.
Do you remember where that came from?
No.
Who told you that, or is that just sort of rumor that circulated in motors, or did it come from an actual chain of command?
I don't remember where it came from.
And was there any instruction that you know of to Sergeant Vidler to conclude his investigation on Mr. DeWitt?
I know there was talk that they were given a certain amount of time a couple of years ago. When he was doing his investigation, he was given time and then an end date as to when they had to have everything done by.
Okay. And do you remember when the end date was?
I don't know.
But it was years ago, would have been the end date, right? Or, are we still within that window?
For what they were doing, because I believe they had a bunch of charges on them and trying to do warrants and stuff like that. And that was
recently.
No. Just maybe 2 years ago. That investigation you alluded to before. Then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So would you say that there's been kind of a lull in your interactions with Mr. DeWitt, or has it been consistent? I guess what I'm asking is, a couple years ago, right, he was arrested several times. There was warrants issued. You're familiar with that. That was back in 2019 or early 2020. We're now in
2021.
Middle of 2021. So has there been like a lull in your interactions with Mr. DeWitt, or?
A lull? I would say an intentional lull, that you don't even pay attention. If you see him, just don't even pay attention to him.
Was there any directives recently that you know of reversing that?
Not if you see them. like I said, we had gone through several different ways of guidance, I guess. And it's if you see them doing their thing and you're out and about, and you see a violation, then address it.
Okay. So if you see a violation, address it. That's the last
Yes.
word that you got.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You said that you don't remember any correspondence from anyone, specifically from legal, saying that Mr. DeWitt was allowed to carry a pepper ball gun.
Nothing other than what I saw online. Nothing was ever sent to us.
Right, at the time. So at the time of the traffic stop up on I-4, at that time you weren't aware of any email or other correspondence from legal saying that Mr. DeWitt was allowed to carry a pepper ball gun.
At that time, correct.
Okay. Based on your personal knowledge, conversations or otherwise, do you know if Sergeant Vidler knew that Mr. DeWitt carried a pepper ball gun?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know, based on conversations with Sergeant Vidler or otherwise, that Sergeant Vidler had received correspondence from legal regarding pepper ball guns and Mr. DeWitt?
I don't know.
Okay. So I understand that this stop was Sergeant Vidler's stop, correct? The one up on I-4.
Correct.
The charges were Sergeant Vidler's, correct?
The charge, yes.
Okay. But you've been in law enforcement for a while, right?
Yes.
At the time of the arrest and during the subsequent investigation, do you believe that Jeremy DeWitt committed a crime with regard to the pepper ball gun?
Do I believe he committed a crime? Like I said, it was not it was Sergeant
No, I understand that.
investigation.
I understand that.
I'm not going to second guess another deputy.
Okay, I understand that it was Sergeant Vidler's stop and his charge, but did you believe that Jeremy DeWitt committed a crime?
Yes.
What was that crime?
Having the weapon.
So the charge that he was issued by Sergeant Vidler?
Yes.
Okay.
He's also a sex offender, and I know sex offenders cannot carry weapons.
Okay, was he charged with that?
I don't know.
Okay. Based on your conversations, your past conversations with Sergeant Vidler, are you aware of any ill intent on his regard toward Jeremy DeWitt?
No.
Would you consider Sergeant Vidler's interactions and approach to Jeremy DeWitt to be reasonable?
Yes.
When these directives were passed down to not engage with Mr. DeWitt any further with Sergeant Vidler in the motors unit?
I don't recall
That's all.
if he was there or not.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you know about this investigation you'd like to add?
No.
The current time is 10:39 a.m. and that concludes this interview.